Well, people forget the skin is an organ. In fact, it's one of our largest organs. And so similar to the heart, if you have obstructive coronary artery disease, there's decreased blood flow to the heart, then people develop heart failure, right? That organ fails. If you lose the regulation of blood flow to the sex organs, that organ fails. We call that erectile dysfunction. And so you can actually see this product working right before your eyes. And then, we can do biopsies, punch biopsies, and we look at collagen deposition. And so we see an improvement in the thickness of the dermal layer. So we're improving collagen deposition, we're improving hydration. And when you hydrate, you basically plump the skin, the fine lines and wrinkles go away. And this is a physiological response. It's not a mask, it's not a Band-Aid. It's basically restoring the production of a missing molecule, nitric oxide.
Okay, welcome to another episode of Heartbeat Happy Hour. I'm your host, Anthony Turturro. I'm with my dear friend, Nathan. How are you doing, sir?
What's up, brother? Good.
Oh, good. What you been up to?
Hard work. Non-stop.
Always, every day.
That's right, all day, every day.
Let's talk about nitric oxide and dermatology.
Yeah.
How do the two correlate?
Well, people forget the skin is an organ.
Yeah.
Right? In fact, it's one of our largest organs. And so similar to the heart, if you have obstructive coronary artery disease, there's decreased blood flow to the heart, then people develop heart failure, right? That organ fails. If you lose the regulation of blood flow to the sex organs, that organ fails. We call that erectile dysfunction. So the skin's the same thing. If we can't supply blood and oxygen nutrients to the skin, then that organ fails. Well, what does that look like? Well, you get fine lines and wrinkles, you lose collagen, your skin sags, you develop age spots, you get inflammation, you get acne, and you basically look old. So in the whole field of anti-aging medicine and aesthetics and dermatology, we have to support the structure and function of that organ, which is the skin. So just like the root cause of every other age-related kind of end organ disease, it's a lack of blood flow. And then that lack of blood flow, which is secondary to loss of nitric oxide, you see inflammation, oxidative stress, and immune dysfunction. So now the challenge is, how do we deliver nitric oxide to the skin? Because nitric oxide's a gas. It's naturally produced in the lining of the blood vessels. And that's been our claim to fame, as you know, is we provide nitric oxide product technology. If your body can't make it, we do it for you. And so our topical nitric oxide serum, the N101 activating serum, is a dual chamber technology that when you combine these two ingredients, it produces nitric oxide gas on the surface of the skin. And it's a game changer in dermatology, aesthetics, and beauty, because it gets to the root cause of aging skin, where all other skincare and beauty products are designed to mask or hide the fine lines and wrinkles. So, it's a mask. And then when you take that mask off, your skin still looks horrible. So we have a different approach. Let's understand the root cause of aging skin, and then let's address it. And it's always nitric oxide.
So when you add on top of the root cause, say UV damage, how does nitric oxide help with that?
Well, it's about repairing and replacing dysfunctional cells. So the sun, if you're exposed to too much sunlight, then it damages those cells. And so what we have to do is we have to mobilize our own stem cells to repair and replace the dysfunctional cells or the damaged cells. And it's nitric oxide that tells our own stem cells to mobilize and differentiate. If your body can't make nitric oxide, then you get exposed to sunlight or any other type of damage, and then those cells just hang around. They're called senescent or zombie cells. And those cells are dysfunctional, so they lose collagen, lose hydration, fine lines and wrinkles appear, and develop age spots. So let's give nitric oxide, let's slough off or exfoliate the dead cells or the dysfunctional cells, and then let's mobilize our own stem cells to repair and replace those cells and actually make a cell that works properly.
So is this correlating to skin pigmentation?
I mean, there's a lot of different kind of pathologies in skin damage. You can get hyperpigmentation. You can just basically lose collagen. You start to get bacteria and infections and acne, rosacea, dermatitis, any of that. It's all, the root cause is low blood flow, inflammation, oxidative stress, and immune dysfunction, which makes you more susceptible to infections and bacterial issues. And nitric oxide corrects all those.
So right now in the anti-aging category, you have different demographics that are all seeking products, but for different reasons, purposes, right? Whether you're 25 to 45, 45, 55, 55 plus, right? Gen Z millennials right now are making up the top market for acquiring various anti-aging products, right? Specifically for prevention of fine lines. How does, say, like the serum with nitric oxide, how does that actually impact fine lines?
Well, we understand the mechanism because we've actually done the clinical trials on our serum. We've got 5 or 6 published peer-reviewed clinical studies on that. So what we're doing is we're increasing blood flow. So we're producing nitric oxide. That nitric oxide diffuses into the underlying tissue. It recruits capillaries. And you can actually see this product working before your eyes. So your skin is going to turn pink. And that pink is not a reaction or a histamine response or an allergy. It's basically illustrating the increase in blood flow. And so you can actually see this product working right before your eyes. And then, we can do biopsies, punch biopsies, and we look at collagen deposition. And so we see an improvement in the thickness of the dermal layer. So we're improving collagen deposition, we're improving hydration. And when you hydrate, you basically plump the skin, the fine lines and wrinkles go away.
Yep.
And this is a physiological response. It's not a mask, it's not a Band-Aid. It's basically restoring the production of a missing molecule, nitric oxide.
I never really used a lot of products in the past.
Me neither.
and I started using the serum. And it's a complete game changer. But the first week I used it, we speak about hydrating and so forth. And when people think hydrating, thinking like moisturizer and so forth. Yeah. My face actually started peeling, right? Could you explain more of what that process was that was happening?
Well, yeah, it's basically allowing the repair mechanism of the human body to actually work.
Okay.
So every organ, the liver is highly regenerative. The lining of the gut basically replaces itself every couple of days. The skin replaces itself, every 4 to 6 days. And so the ability to repair and replace tissue is basically dependent upon mobilizing our own stem cells. And nitric oxide is that signal. So when we can't make nitric oxide, the stem cells don't get the signal to go, hey, and replace these dysfunctional cells. So what happens, you get a buildup of these senescent cells and you basically develop end organ disease or aging skin. So when we restore the production and the signaling aspects of nitric oxide, now we can actually enhance that regenerative process and basically repair and replace dysfunctional cells more efficiently. But nitric oxide is that signal.
Okay. So after the first week, right, and by the way, I loved mixing it up. So you do the dual chamber, right? And you can even just put both in a concentrated spot, but you start seeing these micro bubbles happening. What's that?
Well, that's the NO gas. And really the cool aspect of our technology is we want to push nitric oxide into the skin. There's a limit of diffusion of only a couple of millimeters into the skin because nitric oxide is quickly inactivated. But we want to create a certain, viscosity to basically push the nitric oxide into the skin, prevent oxygen diffusion because we want to mitigate the NO oxygen reaction to form nitrogen dioxide. That's what we're hoping to prevent. But we want to push nitric oxide into the skin. But in that matrix, in that viscous gel, you can see these micro bubbles. And that's actually the nitric oxide gas being produced. So it's a gas that diffuses in 3 dimensions, but we're trying to push it into the skin where we can recruit capillaries, dilate blood vessels, mobilize stem cells, and repair the dysfunctional cells. As
I was using it over about a month, I noticed that the vitamin C side started getting a little darker. Does that do anything different, or what's happening there?
Well, unfortunately, these are just known quality. We use a 20% vitamin C, which is a really concentrated vitamin C in one side of the gym. I don't know what the max is, but it's a super concentrated solution. There are companies who just sell a 20% vitamin C serum on its own. But because we don't put any preservatives in there, that the natural qualities of vitamin C, it becomes oxidized over time. So it develops this amber color. We've tested this. It's not affecting the nitric oxide release profile of that. So the product is still working, but just know that this is a natural ambering quality of that high concentration vitamin C. So we'll always, maintain the integrity of the products. We don't want to put any preservatives in there to prevent that oxidation because, what we try to do is recapitulate physiology. Give the body what it needs to the extent that it can basically replace it and create it on its own. So we don't want to put any preservatives in there, but the consequences of that is you get this ambering over time, but the product still works.
That's great. So for our viewers who suffered from acne and have scarring later in life, or even still suffering from acne, how would the serum affect that?
It'll change their life.
Really?
Yeah, so the nitric oxide that we're producing is actually antibacterial. So it binds to the iron sulfur centers of bacteria and basically shuts down the respiration. So it's antimicrobial and antibacterial. And most people with acne, especially the polycystic acne, there's always bacteria in those pustules. That's the pus right, that we're creating. So it kills the bacterium. increases blood flow, that lowers the inflammation, the immune dysfunction, oxidative stress that's of any inflammatory condition, whether it's acne or dermatitis. So the acute effects of that are really life-changing. From teenage acne to even women with polycystic acne, it's life-changing. And then those that had teenage scars, from our clinical trials, we can see 10, 15-year-old scars from teenage acne that just using the serum for 30 days, twice a day. You get almost complete remodeling of the skin. The scar goes away. It's unlike anything we've ever seen.
So when does someone start seeing the general effects of something like that when it comes to scarring, fine lines, or acne?
Every situation is different. The newer the scar, the better the results. Even older scars, 20, 30-year-old cesarean scars, if women start putting it on that scar, you can start to, remodel that tissue, but it's going to take time. Okay. But in a matter of a couple of seconds, when you put the serum on your skin, you can actually see it working, right? Causing the pink, seeing the bubbles. For fine lines and wrinkles, all of our clinical trials are looking at 30 days using the serum once in the morning, once in the evening for 30 days. And as little as 30 days, you see transformative results in the tone, texture, clarity of the skin, fine lines and wrinkles. It's truly transformative.
So, you work with a bunch of different doctors. Now, the doctors that are in this type of field, right, beauty spas and so forth, that are doing specific treatments, how does something like the serum then integrate into a program like that? Well,
it makes these doctors the heroes to their patients, right? Because people are spending a lot of money, and there's a big movement in aesthetics and dermatology for non-surgical facelifts. Right, and so these, whether it's microdermabrasion, whether it's salt facials, whether it's microneedling, basically what we're doing in those conditions is creating micro trauma, and then facilitating the healing response of the body. But if you can't mobilize your immune cells, the healing aspects of the body, because your body can't make nitric oxide, then you're inducing a trauma that's unable to heal. So now what we're finding is these plastic surgeons and derms and med spas, whenever they do a procedure, part of the protocol now becomes, let's apply the nitric oxide serum after the procedure. Okay. Now we're creating nitric oxide, we're mobilizing an immune response, and we're facilitating the healing aspect. So now whatever modality they're doing, the clinical outcomes and the benefit of that are going to be much better. And so now the patient's actually happier. The doctor's a hero because the procedure they did was life-changing to their patient, and it's a very simple solution. Just apply the serum once in the morning, once in the evening, and there you go.
So not just beauty, the serum works as almost like wound care as well.
Absolutely. In fact, we're developing that as a topical drug for wound care.
Really?
Because and I first stumbled upon this with my own dad, who's a paraplegic and had non-healing wounds and ulcers for 3 or 4 years. So I started developing a topical nitric oxide, and we healed his wound.
Wow.
So that's what kind of started this whole process of how do we develop a topical nitric oxide. So it's obviously important for skincare and beauty, but more importantly on a global scale and really a life-changing kind of an intervention in wound care. This is going to be a game changer. We haven't seen a single wound that we haven't been able to heal with our nitric oxide. That's 3, 4, 5-year-old non-healing wounds in diabetic paraplegic patients that we heal within a couple of months.
That's amazing.
No, it's going to be, it's going to be life-changing.
That's a huge advancement.
Yeah, no, we're excited. We got a lot of good things in the hopper, so stay tuned.
Right. So as far as the technology at the show, I've seen red light therapy, just different things. How does it also play with something like that?
Well, to me, it's the 80-20 rule, right? 80% of the exhibitors and products out there are kind of, probably shouldn't waste your time. But there's, 10 to 20% of the booths there that are good quality medical devices, technology, product technology, diagnostics that are meaningful. But red light's a big deal.
Yeah.
You
got
red
one
light.
Of those right at your place?
Got the light stem LED bed.
Yeah.
Red light and really the full spectrum of sunlight provides some benefit. But what we've been able to do is target certain wavelengths of light that are known to have healing properties.
Okay.
And so whether it's red light, there's some, wavelengths of blue light that are antibacterial and antimicrobial. So a lot of these companies are pretty innovative, and they combine these different wavelengths of light that provide anti-aging properties. It's, the mitochondria are kind of like the chloroplast of plant cells. They take the light energy and convert that into cellular energy. And that's what red light's doing. It's activating the mitochondria, but red light and certain wavelengths of light will actually release nitric oxide bound to metals. So also what we're learning, similar to the approach with plastic surgeons and dermatologists, is let's integrate our nitric oxide into red light therapy. So if your body's deficient in nitric oxide and you go under a red light, there's less nitric oxide to release by that light.
Okay.
But if you take our lozenge, titrate up your nitric oxide levels, now when you go to red light therapy, you're releasing more nitric oxide, so you're going to get more benefit of that red light therapy if we take nitric oxide before. So again, all these things are kind of additive and synergistic when you use our nitric oxide before these other modalities.
Interesting. If you like what you heard today, learned anything, make sure to hit that like button, subscribe for more information, and each time I learn something new. So check us out and stay tuned.
Thanks, Anthony.
Yep.